Hello and welcome, members of the Wonderverse. I'm Hannah.
And I'm producer Nick.
And you're listening to Into the Wonderverse, your one and only source into all things Scarlet Witch and Friends. Though this week we're not actually really talking about Wanda, are we? Well, this is your bonus episode. So you guys asked for it and we listened and you wanted to hear our Thunderbolts review. And so here it is. This is...
You do say Scarlet Witch and Friends, so I guess this is the Friends segment.
The Friends segment. I do want Yelena and Wanda to be friends, and so does Florence Pugh.
I mean, who doesn't want to be friends with Florence Pugh?
Oh, that's fair. Who doesn't want to be friends with the Scarlet Witch?
That's also true.
You know what is really funny though is like my entire comment section has been like, who would win, Sentry or Wanda? Sentry or Wanda? And I'm like, Sentry, she could probably beat, but the Void, she's never like, girls never ever coming out.
No,
like,
I saw a Reddit post, which I guess is me saying I'm now on 4chan, but like I saw a Reddit post which was like, who would win in a fight, and it was like Sentry versus all these different characters, and the last one was Wanda, and the main comment, the top Reddit comment was like, Wanda, like, fighting Sentry wouldn't be really an issue. Fighting the Void, like, emotional kind
she's
of
never
way. But then her powers kind of seem to get heightened. So maybe, like, she would be able to do...
I genuinely think that she would melt.
But the key thing about this is we don't do power scaling
We don't do power scaling. I just had to, I had to get that in. Okay, so I saw Thunderbolts opening day. You didn't.
I saw it 2 nights ago because I've been filming, which we'll get into next week.
Yeah, so this is going to be entirely a Thunderbolts review episode. So this is like your bonus episode. If you're not into us talking about Thunderbolts, you can join us. We're going to put out 2 episodes this week. We are feeling generous because we've been away for so long. We're going to put out a general news update where we'll talk about kind of where we've been and about all the news that's come out because it's been a bit crazy with the Doomsday and stuff. But this is just a Thunderbolts review episode. So if you don't like that, sorry, that's what this is.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably do like 5 minutes of spoiler-free talk, and then...
Are we going to bother with that?
I know, there'll be a couple of listeners that might be waiting for the Disney Plus release.
Okay. This is, I've already just...
I mean, the Sentry, that's kind of...
Okay. Well, then your first spoiler-free thoughts.
Good movie.
I loved it. It was amazing.
It's good to see Marvel movies actually have a theme again. An emotional theme and something that's kind of recurrent through and that's actually kind of coherent together and working together for the characters. Good movie.
I loved it. It's actually maybe my favorite Marvel movie at the moment. Like, I really liked it. Before Black Widow was my favorite Marvel movie, so I'm controversial.
It's been a while. It's been a while for you.
It's been a while for me. Yeah, I really liked it. I think that the character performances in here are really good. What I really liked about it is we're back to managing to establish a team in an interesting and like one of my main problems with like Eternals was that we didn't actually take time to explore why they were a team before we disassembled that team. This team came together over the course of the movie, and it was good to see I think this was a real origin story.
The Eternals comparison is quite an interesting one. I hadn't actually really thought about it. I defend Eternals as a Marvel movie, really. But I the what you mean.
I just thought Eternals should have been 2 movies. I think we should have gotten a movie
like
fighting fighting the Deviants before we did the whole betrayal plotline, because it was hard to care about. This really showed. I'm so excited to see them again in Doomsday. Everyone knows that because the chairs are already out, so that's not
the chair is out.
A spoiler. But because they spent so long establishing the roots, and I mean, as a girly who grew up on the 2012 Avengers Tower fanfics and like that, establishing them as a found family, like I'm so excited to be back in the era of like. They're all living in a tower together. It's so cool. Like, I just love it.
It was a very, very good. It was a very, very good movie. I thought the action was probably the best action we've seen in an MCU movie in a while.
Mm-hmm. Since maybe what's it called? Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Black Widow had some good action in the first 2/3 of that movie. Had some good action. I if you haven't seen it, go see it. I think it's definitely worth the cinema.
I literally have I've watched the cam version a bunch of times since I've seen it in cinemas.
I'm just getting blacklisted now.
No, I'm not, because I'm actively saying go see it.
Yeah, go see it.
Go see it. It's so good. we want to support Marvel projects like this. I adore it. And now we're going to go into spoilers because I am so bad at not. I'm so bad at a spoiler-free review.
So spoilers now for Thunderbolts. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers, but you still want to hear us talk, basically skip to the next episode. Or
skip to the next episode, and then come back and see us when you have seen the movie, and go see it. Like, go buy your tickets, go see it.
Yeah, go see
Genuinely,
it.
I'm so advocating for you to see this movie on the big screen, because I saw it in iSense, actually. I saw it in IMAX, and I had the best time. I mean,
it was like, it's been out like a week and a half, or probably 2 weeks now at this point when I saw it. And there were still quite a few people in the cinema, so it's going to be around for a while. Marvel movies tend to have a good tail.
I want to see it in 40X really bad. I can't wait to see the motorcycle sequence in 40X.
I would like to know what it's like to be in the void in 40X.
You just get, like, they take away my meds.
Literally a cinema employee comes up and just takes your medication.
Makes you throw up your meds.
Yeah,
so that
you take 2 fingers and that's it. Like, you're in the void.
You're in the void. The whole cinema just goes black. Honestly, though, one of my first things I want to say is how much I loved the Void's character design. The teeth, the fact that you could still see his teeth smiling, and the eyes was genuinely chilling.
Yeah,
like,
it's pretty.
I
good design.
Loved the Void design. It was genuinely quite unsettling to see. Lewis Pullman was so amazing in this role. Honestly, I can't fault the acting in this movie, like, at all. Julia Louis-Dreyfus,
Queen,
such a camp villain. I loved it so much. That Bob was.
She was doing Veep at times. Like, and you were a fan of Veep?
Yeah, I love Veep. Yeah.
So both of us have seen Veep. Fucking one of the great HBO comedies. And like Julia Louis-Dreyfus in Veep and Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, like, same character. Like, at times.
The Bob was this was the movie of the Thunderbolts, as we know, and the Bob off was crazy. The Bob off between, like, her Bob was giving. Mal really liked. Obviously, we've heard that she is going to be Songbird. It's a slow introduction, which I love. Like, we've gotten to know her as a person before she is obviously inherently going to become really powerful. And I loved her and Bucky's relationship. I loved that he was unable to stop doing espionage. Was, like, very funny to me. I liked that dynamic in the movie. Why he was ever, like, I would love to see the election. I was kind of hoping that one of the post-credit sequences would be his election campaign video.
I mean, both of us haven't seen Brave New World
It's not
yet.
got his election campaign.
And it hasn't.
No. He's only in the one scene that I'm not going to say what I think of on this podcast. But I know because I watched the spoilers for that. But yeah, I really liked everybody that was in this movie. The one thing that I would like going forward, and I keep advocating for Marvel to do because of how dark Black Widow was, is I do think that they should have had Alexei having been thrown in prison because he tried to get the girls out. I think that trying to redeem a child trafficker just by, like, virtue of he went to prison, I just do think that little adjustment could really go a long way with when you think about Alexei's character in context of the opening sequence of Black Widow.
He was the comedic foil in this, wasn't he?
He was. Like... Also, the lack of mention of Melina was weird.
No Rachel Weisz.
Would have loved to have... I know that we already had one Widow on the team. I heard that originally they had maybe planned for her to be in Brave New World, which, again, her absence was sad to me because I really liked that family that we set up in Black Widow. Obviously, Florence Pugh gives the performance of a lifetime in this.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of remember calling it in, like, 2015, 2016. I was like, Florence Pugh is going to be a star. And she continues to fulfill the promise that she had early on in her career. Have you seen Lady Macbeth?
Mm-hmm.
Might be a silly question,
yeah.
But so she's been great for years, and continues to be great.
Yeah, I loved her in Fighting With My Family. Obviously, Black Widow was the movie that got me back into the MCU. I had fallen off with the MCU, actually, because I really didn't like Endgame. Because I don't like Steve's ending in Endgame has always, like, made me sad. And
that'll be something to get into at a later point when we do a recap of the MCU.
But Black Widow was what brought me back. I saw that movie 5 times in cinemas. I loved it, especially that opening sequence. By the end, we were just like, we weren't even staying for the post-credit scene because we'd seen it so many times. But so to see, like, it was Florence Pugh, and to be fair, David Harbour, I do enjoy Alexei. It's such a difference from obviously his character in the comics. Such a difference to his character in the comics. But yeah, I enjoy those characters. It was nice to see them. One of the funniest parts of the movie to me is when he's like, Yelena, do not go in. Valentina's going to burn you alive.
It's your dad.
that honestly was so... And when she said, Daddy, I'm so alone, I was sobbing.
That's the thing. I kind of one thing I kind of wanted to touch on first, really, is the I guess the emotional development, the emotional character development we see here. The general kind of running theme is just like these characters are lost. They suck. They've just been lackeys. They have no direction. We see in the void, we see Yelena next to a bathtub, like clearly just like passed out, having drunk like way too much. Clearly struggling with basically just existing and trying to like understand what it is, like how can I be happy, how can I actually have some purpose, which for at least two members on this podcast is a very 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 I guess it hits home pretty hard. And that's not just like the characters in the movie all kind of we know what Bucky's kind of backstory is. I mean, you know, we all know like how much he is just trying to do the right thing and how much the past is haunting him. Like Alexei, like again, he's just trying to do the right thing. He's just trying to be a good dad. And then John Walker, like he's just an ass. He is an asshole, but he's trying his best. But the problem is he's an asshole.
My absolute favorite thing that's going around on Twitter right now is somebody made this gorgeous edit where it was like, you know the song "How Bad Can I Be" from the Lorax, amazing movie by the way, where it's got the "How bad can I be" and it's all their crimes listed out, and like John Walker's in the middle is just like child neglect. The reason that was just sending me is like espionage, international terrorism, murder, child neglect, and on Alexei's it's like child trafficking and like, which is not funny.
No, not funny.
It's not funny at all. The John
Very bad, don't do it.
There was also a tweet where it was like, can you make a gif of John Walker neglecting his child, and that gif of him like scrolling his phone while the kid is like in the background is just like everywhere right now.
It's yeah.
I am one of the few people that did not come out of that movie liking John Walker. For me, it's still on site. I'm still punching him on.
I still don't like him as a character. I've always disliked.
But to be fair, he's always been a
dick.
A dick in the comics. Like he's not a good person, and like Wyatt Russell does an amazing job by the way. So there's
This is one of the cool things about this movie is that I'm gonna film geek out a little bit. We get the son of Kurt Russell and the son of Bill Pullman together on screen. We never got Kurt Russell and Bill Pullman. I mean, obviously never will because Pullman passed away. But like, is Bill Pullman dead? No, Bill Paxton's dead.
I have no idea.
I can't remember.
I'm not gonna Google it right now.
No, I'm not gonna Google it either. But like these two, like their dads are like icons of cinema.
Yeah.
And they're both kind of on screen, and I'm looking at them like, you look so much like your dad. You know, and they're just kind of doing their own thing with it. Like I can't see Kurt Russell doing that performance, and I can't see Bill Pullman doing that performance.
I absolutely feel like this is a good version of nepotism. I think that Wyatt Russell, like that, I wasn't like, you're here because of your dad. I was like, you're here because you're a damn good actor, and he has the right amount of looking like he could have been Captain America. But he's just like a little...
His Goldie Hawn.
Well, yeah. Yes, his mum is Goldie Hawn. That's irrelevant to his performance in this movie, Nicholas. There's not time to just bring up Goldie Hawn.
It's always a good point to bring up Goldie Hawn.
Right. Anyway, I was saying that, like, he just has the right amount of looking like he could... If you were doing a casting call for, like, a stage version of Captain America, you'd be like, he's just not quite got the Boy Scout face for it. He looks just enough rugged, which is funny because if you think back to Jessica Jones, I can't remember what the character was called, but Trisha's boyfriend in the first season, who's also like a discount Captain America, he looks way more like Steve Rogers, and then he obviously like is basically on steroids. I love the serum corrupts plotline, and I will eat it up every single damn time.
It is really funny that we get 3 different versions of the serum. And Alexi even kind of points it out at one point, didn't it? It's just like, which version of the serum did you get? So,
and he's like, oh, Hydra. And he's like, oh, fancy.
And he got Soviet Russia. Yeah, and obviously John Walker got the American version.
I just want to see, I would love to see another movie of this team just interacting before we get Doomsday. Avengers Doomsday, because there's so many funny,
honestly, like 15 years ago we probably would have done.
I know, there's so many funny dynamics. Like I want to see Alexi and Bucky interact more, because I think there's such funny. There was discourse online that possibly the Soviets had bootlegged Bucky's version of the serum, and so Alexi would be calling Bucky like dad, and then make Yelena call him grandpa, which is one of my favorite fan theories online. And then Ava and Yelena, the way they kind of came together was like really fun.
Ava's the one that I'm kind of struggling with a little bit, like in terms of her character in the movie. There wasn't really much character development. I think she would drop like every stuff down there, like, you know, raised in a lab and all that kind of stuff, but like didn't go into like how weird you would be if you would be raised in a lab.
I think she was the person that needed a void sequence. They originally had a void sequence for everyone.
We should have had.
And I agree that we didn't probably need another one for Bucky, because we like know.
Yeah, no, his line was just like, I've had a great past. It was very, very good to be there. I think
it would have been really good to see Alexi struggling. Like, what is Alexi's shame? And maybe because the child actresses have grown up.
Yeah, you couldn't really do
too much. Though it was lovely to see Yelena's shame scenes. Like, I was again sobbing when like they like whip the girl's hands. If you notice, the child doesn't flinch, but grown up Yelena flinches, which is such a great little like moment. Ava was the one. Apparently, there initially was written, and we would have seen the return as Lawrence
Fishburne
as like her
Bill Foster.
Yeah, he was supposed to be in this movie. He was supposed to be in the movie, and so was Scarlett Johansson returning in the Red Room sequences.
Speaking of should have beens in this movie, Stephen Yeun was originally cast as Bob/Sentry.
Mm-hmm.
What do we think about that casting? Because Stephen Yeun is like
he's amazing, but I just feel like Lewis Pullman has a little bit more like I feel like it would have been retreading old territory for Steven, because it would have been going back to Walking Dead in terms of the kind of like geeky, like I think Lewis Pullman has a physicality of being quite lanky, and I think his background in the Top Gun movie really lent itself to this. And also even when he was Sentry, he didn't look comfortable in his skin in a way that I think Stephen Yeun maybe would have looked more comfortable. Also, I think the Invincible stuff would have just been too on the nose.
I think Stephen Yeun, for me, like he's now his star persona and is kind of grown to be a lot more arrogant and egotistical. Like the way his character, I'm not speaking of him as an actor, but like his characters. So I'm speaking of how he was in Mickey 17, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Like his characters kind of have this like swagger to them. And Lewis Pullman, like, and I'm not saying he couldn't do it, but like I can't see it with Stephen Yeun that he has that vulnerability.
I was saying,
and that's something that Lewis Pullman I think has done very, very well in here, is that there is a vulnerability and a nakedness that I don't think you get with Stephen Yeun.
I also, the other actor that I did think of, if like I had to cast somebody else, I was thinking of Manny Jacinto from The
Good Place.
Yeah, but also obviously he has that like scarier side, because we saw that in the what's that Star Wars series called that got The Acolyte,
which I didn't see.
He's good in it.
Okay.
He's so hot in that. Like not.
I mean, Jason's hot, so you know. Jason's from The Good Place. Yeah.
Yeah. He just always was a bit like vulnerable for me. But anyway, I thought everybody was really good in their roles. I would have liked to see more. Okay, so we're gonna get into real spoilers now. I think what was missing from Ava is maybe this dynamic she was supposed to have with Taskmaster.
Yes.
And I want to give a shout out before we even get started here to the Tasky fans over on Twitter. I'm obsessed with you guys. The people that are really obsessed with Taskmaster, I love you so much, and know that I like every single one of your tweets. They're like, Tasky's gonna get up. Tasky, get up. Like, she's fine. Them making theories on how she survived the vault, you are my absolute heroes. I respect the delusion ability because I am the same with Wanda. You are my favorite people on the internet right now. Nick has not seen any of these tweets, but you should look up the Tasky fan base.
She's dead though, right?
Well, yeah. Well, she died.
Sorry to break this to you guys, but she's dead.
It's a shame that they did that to Olga.
Yes, that's the one that kind of really rubbed me the wrong way. But I thought Olga Kurylenko was the actress the character, the character and the actress that really suffered in Black Widow. Like, didn't come out the best way. Like, Taskmaster is meant to be like a really cool kind of idea for a villain, and like it felt like. It didn't feel right in Black Widow, but then like we're thinking, Thunderbolts is going to be a bit more to them.
And I do think her power set was arguably the second most interesting after Ghost. Again, Ava Starr has the most interesting power set of the bunch because the rest of them are all just super soldiers, basically.
I kind of want to know the side of our layer. I want to know who Hannah John Kamen's agent is because she got a with in the credits. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Like they were doing all the names, and it was Olga Kurylenko. I was like, "Why is Hannah John Kamen?" And then it was like with David Harbour, with Hannah John Kamen. It's like she got a with, like she got between and David Harbour and Julia Louis-Dreyfus in the credits. That's a pretty big get.
She's just so good. I want to see more of Ava. So again on Twitter there is this one account, and I want to shout them out, who has been Ava Starr's biggest defender since the day the movie, like the day Ant-Man 2 dropped. Yeah. They have tweeted about how they want her back. Every single time there's like the smallest promo picture of Ghost leaked, they would post about it. And I was so happy for them. I've never been more happy for a fan than to see Ava. And also the first Black female Avenger.
That is a good point. Yes. That is a very good point.
Which is so good. I'm so happy for her. And I would love to see more action sequences. I was disappointed, when they put the sound thing on so that when she came out of the car, she couldn't actually do anything. I loved her and like her exploration, the fact that she's still learning to use that.
She's still kind of understanding. We get a little bit more of her understanding what her actual power set is. Mm-hmm. It's just like she can't just walk through walls and like not know where she's going because it doesn't last for very long. She's not Kitty Pryde, which I think is a really good kind of thing here. Like, at some point in the MCU, we're going to get Kitty Pryde. So I think it's a good understanding of what makes the difference between Ghost and Kitty Pryde.
I just thought that, like, I wish that we had. So if you don't know, in the original script for Thunderbolts, Taskmaster did not die in the vault. Instead, she had this friendship going on with Ghost, like almost like a sisterly bond. But also she would periodically forget that she was friends with John Walker and tried to kill him, which I think he deserved. And I think, honestly...
We talk a little bit about John Walker?
Mm-hmm. So, we've already said I'm not one of the people that came out of this and was like, yay, John Walker.
I came out of the movie not saying that, but I came out of the movie saying, yay, White Russell. Mm-hmm. I thought John Walker was, like, just... If any character benefited from a Disney Plus TV show, probably is John Walker, because like you could not have done that character without having the Falcon and the Winter Soldier stuff.
Absolutely.
And maybe that is to the detriment because it maybe is like one of these things where Marvel's talking about nowadays. They've got to stop making audiences having to do homework before going into like a main feature, but this is where that homework has paid off, is by having the 9 episodes. How many episodes of Falcon Winter Soldier?
Only 6 or something. They're only like 6 to 7 usually.
Okay, yeah, something like that. Where we got the benefit of having John Walker's kind of rise to Captain America and then fall to...
Well, yeah, because you wouldn't want a whole movie dedicated to that. But that's what I feel like that's what Disney Plus shows are for, is for exploring, Miss Marvel having an origin story. You didn't necessarily need that to be a movie, but it was a good TV show.
Yeah, it's a very good TV show.
I just do think that things like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, maybe it wasn't the show to tell Sam's story in, but it was a good show for, well, like, thinking back to Jessica Jones, like, I actually really love that plotline for the first season of Jessica Jones, whereby you do see what serum can do to somebody who isn't Steve Rogers, and that was a question that we had not yet. Obviously, we've gone on to explore that further in the MCU, but like, who had not had that serum and what it does to somebody who isn't a good person is an interesting question to ask. And this is a little bit spoilers, but like Jessica Jones is coming back. Coming back. Yay. Happy,
In what?
Happy. In Daredevil season 2.
Okay.
Happy. But back to Thunderbolts. Yeah, I thought the one thing I would have liked to have seen on this team was Zemo, because it's his team in the comics and he's just on the raft right now, right next to the president of the United States. And Trish Walker, which is very funny.
Yeah, very weird. So we've done Joe Walker, we did Taskmaster,
We've done
Ava.
We've talked
Should we
briefly
talk about
you.
Alexi?
Yes, Alexi. Again, another person I think would have benefited from this Void sequence.
Yes.
We know that he misses his glory days, and it was good to have one enthusiastic member of the team. You needed that.
Oh yeah, you needed somebody who wasn't dour and like depressed.
I could very much see why they chose him, and I just think that we need a little bit more redemption for his character in order to move. I loved his relationship with Yelena. I know a lot of people don't. I love it. I loved seeing her vulnerable like that. I love that she does cling on to this idea of family. I think it's important. I think that when she said, obviously, it was real to me in the first movie, and it obviously was, and that's how she views them, and he does view them as his kids, but I think we need a little bit more of him being redeemable in order to, like, move past... obviously, you can never really move past child trafficking, and that's a soundbite and a half. But I think that we could have done with a Void sequence where he maybe tried to get them out and didn't try hard enough to get them out.
So, is it for you? Because we're gonna get into Bucky in a minute. But like, is it for you? The fact that we've had Bucky's kind of redemption, and that's why you're not saying they're gonna say this about Bucky, but you are saying it about Alexi because we didn't see that kind of redemption.
I would always be happy to see more Bucky. I love Bucky Barnes.
We'll get into Bucky in a second.
But like. Yeah, I think that the story... Alexi's story is... Alexi and Ava are the least... We know the least... Obviously, we have Ava's backstory more... Again, Alexi's probably the least developed person here in terms of what... Like, we know that he wanted to be a star, but, like, what makes him redeemable?
It's also, like... I think he personally, being a history nerd, like, his kind of backstory is the most interesting. Like, what does it look like being a Soviet Union, like, superhero... like in a country that's like controlled with an iron fist and like state controlled propaganda. What does that look like?
I know, I'm so interested. And like, again, it's a shame that Disney Plus is like not going to be such a thing anymore, because like, again, a Red Guardian show where we have the backdrop of the Red Room. Like, I just desperate for more Red Room. I have to mention this, like, I don't think you know, but Anya, them killing Anya off like that, maybe it's not the Anya from the comics, but the Dark Room is one of my favorite plot lines from the comics. I'm gutted that we refused. Like, I was so excited to see tiny teasers of what the Red Room looked like. And it's, again, I was really hoping, one of my biggest hopes was that we were maybe going to get a hint of Winter Widow in terms of the Red Room, and we didn't get any.
To say, what's Winter Widow?
That's Bucky and Natasha.
Okay.
But yeah, I think Alexi is the person who needed the Void sequence. It was lovely to see him go after Yelena, but to face his shame around her would be... Because he said, I didn't think you wanted me, and that would make more sense if we saw... I think maybe they were afraid to show what a bad person he's been, but this is a team of... Like, Ava's done horrific stuff.
Yeah, Bucky's done horrific stuff. Bucky killed Tony Stark's parents.
I don't care.
Bucky killed
was
John Slattery.
Bucky was brainwashed, and so like that's also Howard Stark was a terrible person. Anyway, like Bucky is the most excusable member of this entire team.
Okay, so that's a good segue then into Bucky.
I know a lot of people were complaining about his screen time. I think because he has such a strong fan base.
And Sebastian Stan's such a good actor.
He's amazing. I love him so much. Sebastian, come on the podcast. I'll change this whole podcast to the Bucky Barnes podcast just so that Sebastian.
Just have Sebastian Stan.
Also, bring Annabelle with you.
Yeah.
Like both come on. I think that they were right that we didn't really need any more Bucky torture like sequences. I love that you can kind of see the Hydra behind him when he comes through and he goes, I've had a great pass, so it's like all fine. I think what we were missing for Bucky is, first off, how he became a congressman. I loved the sequence where they were asking him questions, because literally sometimes when I'm on live, when he was like, and we need to do something about it and it will be investigated, and which is so... And also, like, I do think that the one thing I'm not happy about is the him and Sam divorce plot line. The Bucky Sam divorce feels a bit forced. Like, we just got to we didn't get long enough to see them like each other. This is my issue right now with the MCU, is like, I've always said this, the MCU needs more time with relationships, both romantic and platonic. Like, we just had in a Brave New World, they were just like, I love you, buddy. How do we get from I love you, buddy to like, we don't talk anymore?
Yeah, what happens to that where he says, oh, you talked to Sam, how'd it go? And he goes, not well. Because
I feel like Bucky would be like, hey, I really didn't want to work with Valentine. Like, this just happened to me. And Sam's not going to be like, well, screw you. Like, that's my thing. I think that obviously they want to set up this second Civil War plotline, but geez Louise, we're going to be stuffed in Doomsday if that's going on at the same time. You know? Like, I am, like, but... So, I loved his relationship with Mel. I think it was really interesting to see how his brain works in terms of espionage. His action sequence was so good when he showed up on the motorbike.
Yes. Very satisfying.
It was so good to see him get this. It felt like a culmination of everything that Sebastian Stan deserves for how much he's given to the MCU. You know, him, like, arriving on that motorbike. I was like, yes! That's the thing. I was really rooting for the whole team other than John Walker, like, the whole time.
So, Sentry.
So good. The Bob persona but you see how he does have this, like, it's one of the MCU's best portrayals of mental illness in terms of the complexity of this, like, the intense shame and the highs, the manic, the bipolar, the, like, high highs or the low lows.
Probably since Jessica Jones, season 1. Probably.
Or, yeah, some of WandaVision as well. WandaVision,
yeah.
He just did a good job of, Lewis Pullman did a good job of all of it. That weird, tight way he was carrying himself when he was Sentry, as opposed to Bob. The hurt when they machine gunned him and then his abs. I was like, oh no, oh wow. It was just really good. I just really, really liked it. Like, I have all of my negatives are I would have liked to see more of this. I think it was a bit harsh that they killed off Taskmaster in that way. I just want to see more of this team, and I'm really sad that, like, that they might break up. Like, so
I've always had an issue with Sentry in the comics, because he's just way too OP.
Mm-hmm.
Like, way too OP. Like, he's beaten, like, I know we don't do power scaling on this podcast, but in the comics he has beaten every single Avenger. Like, and the whole thing with Sentry is that he forgets, and so, like, the whole thing of Sentry is that he's been around since the birth of Marvel Comics, but there was a whole mind wipe and no one can remember.
They couldn't use that because of Spider-Man.
Bloody Tom Holland doing his thing. But, like, it was a, like, so that's kind of, it's disappointing in a little bit in that kind of way, but it'd be interesting to see how that happens into, you know, Doomsday, because there was that was that whole thing in the end of the action sequence where they pull him out of the void and he's just like, hey, what happened? Like, what are we doing down here?
I absolutely loved when he was clapping when she announced the new Avengers and he was like just clapping for them, like, yay guys, and he's like, no Bob, you have to be in this, and him at the end. Okay, we're going to dedicate some time to the post-credit sequence.
Oh, we haven't talked about Yelena yet. We haven't done it. I've left the Yelena till last.
I just love her and I just want the best for her.
Okay.
I absolutely gutted me when she was like, I've lost my sister. Her entire performance was just absolutely devastating. Like, Florence Pugh, this was obviously her movie. Very much she was the star that carried this movie. This was Yelena and the Thunderbolts, if you want to, like...
I do firmly believe at some point in the next few years we're going to get a Florence Pugh Oscar. Because she is such a good actress, like, altogether. Like, she devotes to every single performance. I don't think I've ever seen a bad performance from her.
Never.
Like, even in the movie that she was with Zach Braff, you know, like, I don't think I've seen a bad performance from her.
She just has such emotional heart to every, like, yeah. That's the thing. This movie was so emotional, which is lovely to see. It had great action, but the quiet moments were almost just as, like, that entire bit between her and Alexei. Also, the actual Thunderbolts gag was so fucking funny. The fact that it was that girl pooed herself, like...
Yeah. I honestly thought that they were going to go with, we can't use Thunderbolts as a name because of Thunderbolt Ross, who was the president who went Red Hulk. And I'm glad they didn't go that direction with it. I'm glad they went the direction of, it was the name of a Pee Wee soccer team and the girl that pooed herself in mid.
I literally loved it. It was so wholesome. This is like a throwback thing, but that's why I wish that actually they had been in America a little bit longer in terms of Yelena and the family, because they were only there for 2 years. I think it almost should have been 5 years in order to really have settled that family and Yelena there. I understand why they didn't, based mostly for Nat's sake, but I do think that like, she loved it so much and he loves her, and like the bit where, like, yeah, I also thought that the little bonding moments that we did have, Yelena and Ghost having such easy banter, the way John did try to take care of them by getting them the cactus flowers out in the desert, like showing his military training, showing what he was good for. They did put up a good argument for why these people are skilled. I think what is important for us to remember that I think people forget a lot when they're like, oh, they're just a super soldier or they're just this. There are still a lot of average people in this world. Like, if there was a super soldier in Tesco's, like, that would be a big deal.
I mean, then one of the post-credit scenes, there was a super soldier in an actual Walmart, and that woman did not care.
No. But I think it's easy to forget because we have massively powerful characters like Thor, or like Wanda, or like Captain Marvel, that to the average person, a super soldier is very dangerous. And we saw that with John Walker, like, and so I think that it's important that we contextualize that, like, Yelena is a huge threat, like, and so I think that it was very interesting to see them showing their different skill sets. And like, I almost wish the vault was a little bit longer in terms of seeing that fight, especially Taskmaster. Again, I'm just kind of gutted that, like, we didn't get, like, and I know it's because
and there weren't any repercussions to Ghost
murdering Taskmaster. And I felt like Yelena should have had a little bit more of an emotional reaction, because Natasha literally almost sacrificed her life to save Taskmaster, for Ghost then to just shoot her and Yelena to have maybe in the moment she was numb, but even like to have like reflected on that, because again, she was Taskmaster, again, one of the most sympathetic villains on that team. I don't love the decision to kill her. I think that she deserved better. I think that we should not listen to people on Reddit, and we should like have tried to salvage that character and humanized her. Like, what they were originally going to do in the script sounds really good. I get that they worried the script was bloated and that there was too much stuff, but I think that, like, I would have sat through 15 more minutes of that movie.
Can I go into the filmmaking all quickly? Like,
go for it.
I wish there was some more color. I thought the color grading was very dull and muted. If I have any kind of criticism, it was too quote unquote gritty in the color grading. Like, New York has never looked so grey. I think, when the Avengers Tower was kind of falling down, when the Thunderbolts kind of joining together as a team, it just felt very grey.
But for the sake of argument,
I know. I'm just gonna say, it felt like, so when the Void was kind of taking over, it was like it didn't feel like there was a contrast. Like, it was just felt like, I don't know. I personally felt like the color of the movie and the cinematography of the movie at times was quite, like I said, very muted. And I kind of was thinking about it on the way here, kind of today. Like, I remember the first Avengers movie. There was a lot of color, lot of color. Captain America's costume was bright blue, and Hulk was bright green, and Thor had bright red on him, and like Iron Man was bright red, and like it felt very bright and vibrant, and it just, like, I don't know
if there was any movie I thought should be muted in color, it's this one, because of the whole depression theme of the movie. I think that, like, honestly, maybe if there had been more of a contrast at the end, that would have made it, like, or again, I think that I would have loved to have seen some of Alexei's memories where he saw that in bright, like, his costume, because his costume was quite bright red in Black Widow, and then obviously it looked kind of more gritty here. But I think that this movie was, I would say it was mostly from Yelena and Bucky's perspectives, because they were the people that we got kind of POV scenes for. Sorry if you can hear the dog just making... Miko is guest starring on the episode this week. Lots of people will be very happy about that. Nick's eyes widened because he's like, the dog is talking. But Miko really likes Thunderbolts too. He's seen the cam version on my laptop. And many, many edits. Thank you to the editing community for your services, by the way. You have been doing amazing over on TikTok. Shall we talk about that post-credits sequence?
Yeah, so this is now however much longer it's going to take us to talk about post-credits. So, what happens? So they go into the new Avengers Tower. We're going to the new Avengers Tower.
The copyright dispute.
The copyright dispute with Sam and the Avengers. Alexei shows up in a lycra onesie or whatever it is.
It felt like a throwback to, remember the Fantastic Four when Johnny got all of their things sponsored in the old Fantastic Four movie.
Tim Story one.
I like the little throwback. I loved Alexei's new that he's kind of looked better.
Yeah.
Like he started to actually look like a hero, because even though he'd obviously been living in America for a wee while, he hadn't cleaned himself up. And I think it was good. Like obviously Van Selina's like branded them all. Like John's awful little... I saw someone saying John's beret is going to come off immediately if he's actually fighting. Like his fighting style, that beret is coming off immediately. And they're like, none of their outfits are like that practical. What they've done is they've made them marketable.
Yes.
Ava had an even more intense bob. She was bobbing. That's apparently are going to be their looks for Doomsday, because it was not directed by what's the director of this movie? Sean
something.
Yeah, but
So
it was directed by the Russo brothers. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it was written by the same writer as the rest of the movie. So
Jake Schreier.
I don't know why I thought Sean. I don't know why I was thinking Sean. I'm so sorry to Jake Schreier. But I thought that I like their looks going into, especially Bucky. That if that is a wig, if they put Sebastian, like Sebastian better not be bald. I'll tell you that for free. Better not be bald.
So they show up in the Avengers Tower. There's this whole corporate dispute. Bucky alludes to an argument he's had with Sam. And Yelena is trying to maybe a bit more of a leader by like trying to like take control of what's going on, so that she alludes to something going on in space, and then it cuts to like an emergency warning system where they show a camera up in space, and it's a ship flying through space, and it has the number 4 on it.
Yes, I loved it. I love this post-credit sequence. It felt like the most exciting one we've had for a long time. I now think that possibly we're going to the end of the Fantastic Four movie is going to cross over into 616. And that we're going to get a finale that begins the molding, which I think is good, because I think if we went straight from... I would be mourning so hard if we went straight from the kitschy Fantastic Four world this summer.
Transition?
I think a transition is important.
I heard a theory where... because a lot of the theories kind of going around is like, oh, they escaped their Earth after Galactus, destroys it, and that's why they come over to this this universe. I heard a theory that they beat Galactus, and they hear that Galactus is kind of coming over to the next one, so that's why they go over to like save that universe. That's the theory I heard. I don't know. I've also, like, it's a little bit different as well, because the ship, the Fantastic Four ship we see in the trailer has 3 parts of the wing to it. It's like a triangle, whereas the one that we see in Thunderbolts has 4. 4 kind of rocket boosters. There's 3 in the trailer, and there's 4 in this one. So it's like, okay, is it a different Fantastic Four? Or is it like, what's kind of going on there? It's one of those like little pieces that's like, it's too big of a thing to be a mistake, in my opinion. And
they're currently apparently refilming a post-credit sequence for Fantastic Four. It was falsely reported as reshoots. It's not reshoots. They are shooting basically on the set of Doomsday another post-credit sequence for Fantastic Four.
So I guess that kind of leads us into the Doomsday of it all.
How do you feel about the Thunderbolts going into Doomsday? Or the new Avengers.
The new Avengers. I mean, I think what they're setting up for Doomsday is like this idea of Avengers versus X-Men versus Fantastic Four versus New Avengers.
And then Doom's just in the middle, like
Doom's just like
Dougieing, I guess.
Yeah, he's doing the Fortnite dance.
It's absolutely stuffed. I love the new Avengers, and they are my children, and I will protect them with my heart. I wish that we'd had Sam forming his new Avengers on screen. I don't like that he's formed it off screen. I think that we should have had...
Who is that team? Who is that team?
Well, obviously it'll be Shuri, because we know she's in the movie. Shang-Chi. We haven't had She-Hulk confirmed because Titania's chair wasn't there.
Yeah.
Maybe Bruce Banner. We know he's in this movie. Well, we don't. It wasn't announced, but I mean, is Renner back? Like, is he out of retirement for the gazillion?
Kate Bishop, though, wasn't it?
No. The Champion's going to be their own team, as far as we know. Yeah. So the Champions will apparently be formed in Vision Quest, which we'll talk about in our next episode. Right. The rumors around it, because I'm going to do Rumor Patrol, but for Vision Quest in the next episode.
Okay.
So stay tuned for that. If you like or don't, it's really up to you. I guess, what's your star rating for Thunderbolts?
4.
Mine was 5. I gave it 5 stars.
I saw. I think it's the most. I didn't see Brave New World in the cinema. I just didn't know if I cared. Which was kind of like a big.
We care about all Marvel projects, just in case Marvel are listening. We love Marvel. We stand them so much, but I also didn't see it in the cinemas for separate reasons.
Yeah, I kind of like missed Brave New World. It was the first Marvel movie I missed in the cinema since The Incredible Hulk back in 2008.
Yeah, I also didn't see that.
It's been a while for me to miss a Marvel movie in the cinema. How I saw Eternals in the cinema and nobody saw that.
I saw Eternals in the cinema,
and it felt. It felt like Marvel was kind of.
Are we back?
Yeah, are we back?
I think we've not been away that long. I really like some of the other projects that have come out. I think that there's been crazy negativity around. Like, I enjoyed the Marvels.
I like the Marvels. It definitely suffers from a cut. Like, it's definitely been edited in my opinion. I like Shang-Chi a lot. I think Tony Leung is one of the greatest movie stars in history, and it's great to see him in a blockbuster like this. And I think, I know she's going to stand up now and attack me, whatever's closest to her, but I like Multiverse of Madness. So yeah, I think it, and obviously Eternals, and I like the Eternals. I don't know, like it felt Thunderbolts felt a lot more focused than Marvel has been in a while. It felt Phase 1 Marvel.
It really felt like they were giving these characters time and setting them up, and I really liked that about it. Yeah. I love an in-depth character study, and I love interpersonal relationships. Like, I've been gunning for a long time for Marvel to take longer over their romantic relationships and over their friendships, and I think this did do a good job of, you can see why these people would end up liking each other and needing this family. Like you saw, like, they went after Yelena and Ghost came back for them, and like several times, and like you can see, I think Bucky makes the least sense in this team, in that I think he already has a family with Sam, and come home, the kids miss you, Bucky. But everybody else in this team needs this team, and I look forward to Ava Starr and Yelena Belova braiding each other's hair for sure.
I have to just a tiny, like, we're now just dotting the I's and crossing the T's. There's rumors going around that Jake Schreier is going to be tapped now for X-Men. Mm-hmm. How do we feel about that?
See, I've also seen that Ryan Coogler's in the running, so I think that it's the X-Men have become this absolute bomb waiting to go off in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because obviously they've wanted the rights to them for so long, and it's just getting it right is going to be so tricky. And so we'll just have to see. I liked Thunderbolts a lot. I would prefer if Jake would come back for a second Thunderbolts movie. But we will talk about Marvel's release strategy in the next episode.
I mean, it's the X-Men. The X-Men of it all. Like, you kind of like, you've really like hit on something there. Like, if anybody doesn't know this, so this might be new information, but might be known information to some people. But there was a time where Marvel Comics, basically they cancelled the Fantastic Four comics because they didn't own the rights to them as a movie rights. So why were they publishing comics? Basically, the thinking was, why are we publishing comics to basically advertise the movie franchise that we don't own? Why are we benefiting? This is obviously before the Disney merger and what have you. And then there was but then they cancelled a load of X-Men comics for the same reason, except the main X-Men comic, because it made so much money for them that they could not justify cancelling the X-Men comic because it was making too much money for them. That's how important X-Men is to Marvel. And you are right, it is this bomb just waiting to go off. And it also kind of speaks a little bit that Disney obviously like have this whole thing now where how they control their back catalogue in terms of re-releasing the cinema. In the UK at the moment, you can go and see over the next few weeks the X-Men movies in the cinema.
I might have to go see First Class.
Yeah, so First Class, Days of Future Past, X-Men 2. I want to see X-Men 2 in the cinema because I never saw that in the cinema. I want to see the Nightcrawler sequence in the cinema.
I haven't seen any of the original X-Men in the cinema. I've seen all of even Dark Phoenix.
I saw Dark Phoenix
in the cinema. All of them. Because First Class, fun fact, First Class is one of my favorite Marvel movies of all time. I love First Class. I stick by every single thing.
Good movie.
Loved it. Like, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Actually, love it. But I worry for my darling Avengers because I still love them. It's funny because I obviously collect a lot of vintage merch, and you see the rise of X-Men, which is obviously in the 80s. Because obviously the X-Men are a thing in the 60s and 70s. But with Chris Claremont, really, funnily enough, which we will talk about what he's been saying on the next episode. But Chris Claremont really established the X-Men as a main player, and you see how every other team except Spider-Man is kind of eclipsed by the X-Men.
The animated cartoons like X-Men was huge. Arguably only Spider-Man came close in the 90s, and like comics are the same kind of thing. Like X-Men's just outselling, like still,
we've got amazing individuals. Like the Storm run right now is so good. The Phoenix run, there's two great runs. I don't particularly like. I can only read a certain amount of comics at a time, but the Storm panels I'm seeing, I just want this casting to be new and fresh, and that is my stance. I am so ready to have a brave new world, if we put it that way. So I love the Thunderbolts. I want a sequel. Yelena Belova, you have my heart, and Bucky Barnes, you deserve better. Yeah,
4 stars, good movie. Keep it up, Marvel. Say that with Russo Brothers directed team.
We are so excited. We love everything. Okay, so if you love us so much and you want to hear a little bit more from us, you can find me over on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter, either Into the Wonderverse or The Wonderverse. I post updates every day. We're going to be changing the format of this podcast a little bit in that I'm not going to probably do as many news updates on here. So if you want to keep up to date on the news, follow me on my other platforms. I do it every day. And this show will very much more be kind of us covering comic runs or TV, or obviously if there's a big news article, like say if they dropped a Scarlet Witch movie tomorrow, we'll obviously make an episode about it. But this podcast kind of be more focused on us discussing the big topics that you guys want. But if that's not what you guys want, then feedback. There is a button you can press that is a text us. And we love to hear from you guys. In fact, we got the most lovely email that I'll be reading out on the next episode. Podcast art by the wonderful Lily. Follow her over on Instagram.
And you can find me. I'm on Instagram. I guess I'm the Film Nick. I'm on TikTok at the Film Nick. I really should be doing more stuff.
Yeah,
on there.
You should.
I should. My social media manager Hannah is giving me the death glare because I don't do enough on TikTok.
I'll make her a marketing executive get onto you as well.
Oh, please don't. So and you can find me. I guess I'm most active on Letterboxd, the Film Nick, where you can see what I've been watching recently. So that's that.
Also, Nick got a new haircut. That's an update. Music by Melody Ray Griffiths. Until next time, stay magical.